Well, hello everyone. Hope everyone has a good day today. Well, this video, as I keep saying in so many other videos, it's for something I've been reading or watching. In this case, it's going to be a case of a little bit of that and personally experiencing it. And I've been watching so many videos, again this morning, that of traffic stops where people don't want to give their license and all that. Okay, I did a video about that not too long ago. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's interesting. But this one is, we have high school graduations coming up next week here in Forsyth County in North Carolina. That's where Winston-Salem is. Last week we had Forsyth County Technical College graduation. Why am I bringing this up? Because last year during high school graduation, I was working it. I could not believe the things I heard or the things I saw. And that was the first year I had put into work graduation. What do I mean by that? High school graduation, parents come, grandparents come, family members come, and to watch their grandson or granddaughter, son or daughter graduate and all this stuff. You would think it's going to be a happy occasion. You would think you come there to, have a good time and, but a lot of them come to cause trouble. That's all we had last year at the high school graduation was trouble. Some people simply do not want to abide by the rules of the Coliseum. And they're very simple. They're not hard to get along with. You cannot bring balloons in at all. You cannot bring a package in that's wrapped. If you want to bring it in, it has to be unwrapped, open, so we can see what's inside of it. There were fights among parents or grandparents, I'm assuming, up on the concourse. They hadn't even gotten into their seats yet. They were already fighting, assaulting people, and the sheriff's department was carting them either off to jail or off to the hospital. They hadn't even got off the concourse into the seats. Another policy is you cannot save seats. Well, they're at the restroom. That doesn't make any difference. They'll be here in 15, 20 minutes. Doesn't make any difference. You cannot save seats. That is a plain, simple rule. You cannot save seats. Either they're here or they're not. Okay. Now, if once the thing starts and you're into a particular graduation for a school and someone wants to get up and use the restroom, yes, you can. But we're talking about the time lead up to the beginning of the graduation. You can't save seats. I literally saw some grandparents using yellow plastic tape that you would tape off, say, a construction site or whatever. Nearly 3 rows, complete rows of seats with this yellow tape to save for their family members and friends and all that. We had called management in and say, you cannot do this. And they sat there and yelled and screamed at us. These were grandparents, telling us, yes, they could. Yes, they were allowed to literally tape off 3 or 4 complete rows of seats for their in-laws and their friends and all that stuff. We said, no, we started taking it down. We nearly had to call law enforcement in to arrest them and take them out. I sat there and literally watched 2 ladies face to face screaming at each other. One saying, you cannot save seats, which is true. The other one says, yes, I can. Yes, I am. And eventually, I had to say something, folks. Either you stop this now or we're going to call law enforcement in and you're all going to be going out. Not just one or the other. Both of you are, And this was not just an isolated case. There were cases all throughout the Coliseum, all throughout the concourse. Some of this problem started before they even got into the building, because we had people outside the building telling them, you can't bring this in, you can't bring that in, you can't bring this in. And they wanted to sit there and argue before they even got in the building, before they even went through security. So many people last year, I remember telling me, they're never, ever going to work high school graduation again here. So it's next week. I've been approved for the first day. Haven't said anything about the second day yet. And I'm wondering why. Well, we were supposed to be working Wake Forest graduation next Monday. This is a Wednesday. I do next 4 days of NASCAR at North Wilkesboro. But Monday morning was supposed to be Wake Forest graduation. We've done it for years, but not this year because we could not get enough people to sign up for it. And like I said, a couple of days ago, I got approved for the following Thursday for high school graduation. But I haven't anything heard yet about Friday. And I'm wondering if, we just don't have enough people sign up because they just don't want to put up the bullshit. It's the same bullshit that I watch on all these TikTok videos of people who were arrested for speeding. They don't want to give their license. They don't have to do this. They're being illegally detained. Shoplifters are being stopped, and they're screaming they didn't steal anything, even though it's on camera. They fight, they squirm. It takes 3 or 4 officers to handcuff them. It takes 3 or 4 officers to get someone out of a car to get them handcuffed. And, some people just say, I didn't sign up for this. And I don't blame them. You should be able to go to a high school graduation, okay? And not have to worry about being threatened, having people screaming at you. We don't get involved in the fights. That's what law enforcement is for. And I tell you what, last year, there were a lot of city police and a lot of sheriff there. I mean, they were in big numbers. A high school graduation inside. We had like almost an army of law enforcement there because they've had problems apparently in the past. And they had their fair share last year. I don't know what this year is going to be like. And it may be that we don't even get to do Friday, and Thursday may be canceled because people just don't want to put up with the shit. Why do I bring this up in a second point? I'm watching all these videos of blacks putting videos on TikTok who are law-abiding, I'm going to call average blacks, okay, who are tired of these low-life ghetto blacks. And there's a word they use all the time. They call them flat-out niggers, ghetto niggers and all that. They're tired of it. They don't want to be around them. I don't want to be around them. I do not sign up for North Carolina A&T football games or basketball games because I've heard there are problems sometimes, working a football game or basketball game. I didn't retire to get involved in that bullshit. I'm not going to put myself through that, And so anyway, so it'll be interesting to see if we do both days or if we do any days of high school graduation. There's just too much of the public out there, and blacks are tired of dealing with these people. The whites are tired of dealing with these people, and they don't seem to think there's anything wrong. They really don't. I was watching a video of some school, I don't remember the name of it, and they were showing people in the aisles around the seats dancing like they were going on an African war dance. And the graduation rate of that college was 5%. 5% of the people who start college at that school graduate, 5%. I can see why. If that's their attitude, out in the aisles of the bleachers, the seats, acting like they're on an African war dance. Now, some people are going to say this is racist and all that. Folks, I'll tell you what, I worked a local college graduation about 2 years ago, and they went up on the stage, to walk across the stage to get their diploma. 98% of them, 99% of them did just that, no problem. But you had to get a few who would start to walk across the stage, and they were going into the African war dance, just flopping, bouncing, stomping, and everything. And they thought it was great. I watched from the stands. Some of these grandparents just think it was awesome. And one time, people who had already gotten their diplomas came back up on the stage, and you had a group of nearly 20 up there doing this stomping and all this stuff. And it's like, this is embarrassing. I watched another video this morning. I like watching videos on TikTok at a high school graduation. The principal was handing out the diplomas. This one guy started coming across the stage, and he started doing that dancing, flopping, stomping, all that. The principal said, get your ass back across that stage and walk across it normally. And the guy did. He walked back. He walked over normally, got his diploma, and left. The principal wasn't going to have it. He wasn't going to have all that bullshit of stomping and all that. So, yes, the people with traffic stops that don't want to comply, from the videos, you can't tell from videos, from the ones I've seen, it's probably about 50-50. 50% blacks, 50% whites. That doesn't really, that's not anything you can really, put hard numbers on. But when I'm sitting there watching this stuff of high school graduation, fighting in the concourse, assaulting people, going to jail, going to a hospital, blatantly, trying to reserve seats, not listening, to the rules, and then again at this college graduation just last week, we had supervisors running all over the place, telling these people, you can't save seats. There's too many people coming to the seats that are available to use. You can't save seats. And it was just one, trying to put out one fire after another. They were just constantly running around trying to put out these different fires. And at a point, people say, no, I'm not going to put up with this behavior. It's not what I signed up for. And then you wonder why the country's in the shape it's in, But anyway, my rambling's gone on for almost 11 minutes. But I just watching these videos on TikTok, my personal experience working these graduations, I have no idea what's going to be like next week, if we even do it. We may get the word that, not enough people signed up to work it because they don't want to put up the bullshit. And, I may not even be working Thursday, so. And we're working NASCAR now. NASCAR's made it very plain. If any of their representatives catch our people while they're working on their cell phones, they'll be told to report back to logistics and they won't get paid, And I see it all the time. Some of these people act like they can't go from point A to point B without being on their cell phone. They're assigned to a job at a post or postal work, and 95% of the time they're not even doing their job. They're sitting off someplace, standing off someplace with their nose buried in their cell phone. And I'm sure it's probably a cell phone supplied free by the government through all these different programs you can get a free phone for, And I know it sounds racist, but folks, it is what it is. I see it with my own eyes, and I work around these people, and I just, it's just, come on, you're getting paid, do your job, be on your cell phone when you're not working. But they don't seem to be able to do that. They just don't, We wonder what a country's in the shape it's in, I'm done. I'm going on over 12 minutes. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And my bitching and complaining and moaning and groaning is over, at least for today.